and welcome to this episode of Filmi Ladies. As you guys know, Beth and I are both gigantic animal lovers. Beth is a dog mom, and I'm a cat and dog mom. And our lives kind of sort of revolve around our animals. And we love to talk about animals, we love to meet animals, we love to spot animals in Indian movies. And so this episode is one that we've been wanting to do ever since we imagined this podcast into being. And that is, it's all about the animal friends that we spot in Indian cinema. Some of these animals are actually pretty darn smart, and they really take that story forward. And so today we're just going to talk about those moments when we watch Indian movies and we go, "Ee, that is so cute." It's very intellectual, you guys. We're so intellectual.
So intellectual.
So I'm going to start with you, Beth. What is your number one? Ee, that animal is so cute. Moment
my number one? Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Okay, let me start. So I have 4 films picked out that I want to talk about, but there's endless of these, right? These animals are in Indian cinema all over the place, and they have been for a long time, which is one of the things that's so great about this topic. Let me start with a film that I love, that I feel like a lot of people don't like or just don't talk about, but when they do talk about it, they seem not to like it. Roop Ki Rani Charanka Raja. Which is a very 70s style masala film made in the 90s.
Yes.
With Sridevi and Anil Kapoor. And it is, I love it for many reasons, but one of them is the very helpful bird in it named Django, I believe his name is, right?
Oh, okay.
And Django is, one of the things that's so great about Indian film animals is I feel like, generally speaking, a lot of them do things that animal could do with training, right? Like there's not a lot of absolutely ridiculous things about the animals once you kind of accept that an animal is a character, is trainable in that way or whatever. So like Django, pecks out letters to identify a license plate that's a clue to something.
Okay.
And he's just obviously a constant companion to Anil Kapoor's character. So I love Django, the helpful pigeon.
Oh, he's a pigeon.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh,
he's a pigeon. And obviously pigeons are great in Bollywood too. I actually have a kabutar playlist on YouTube of pigeon songs. And I've always sort of liked pigeons because I grew up in a small town that didn't have them. And I know they're like the rats of the sky or whatever, but like pigeons are great. They're smart. They help, they do all sorts of amazing things for humans. And I love to see them.
Amrish Puri and Shah Rukh Khan Bond in Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, very important.
Exactly. Yeah, I just
Do you also enjoy being in your small town and feeding the pigeons and saying "oh, oh, oh" in a stern Amrish Puri voice, or no?
We don't have pigeons really.
Okay.
I don't think here, but I will gladly feed any critter if I am clear that I'm allowed to, because I try to follow the signs that don't say, that say don't feed the ducks. Like there's a pond near my house that has ducks in it, and I do want to, like 5-year-old me wants to feed the ducks, but I don't.
Yeah.
There's turtles too, but I don't know what
there's a very dire sign at my local park, because I guess they got so tired of people trying to feed the geese. There aren't ducks, but there are geese over there. And there's it's literally very hardcore. And it talks about how if you feed breadcrumbs or whatever, it destroys their intestinal tract. And I looked at it and I was very alarmed. And I was like, oh dear. Not that I was planning to feed the geese, but now I definitely will not. And now I just side-eye people who look like they might.
I've just pulled up my notes about this film to remind myself of what all Django can do. He can carry messages, steal diamonds. He not only pecks out the license plate, but he memorized it in the first place, of course. He attacks villain, and he helps save his human from certain death when they're being dangled over a pit of acid.
How does he do that?
I'm having to look at my screen grabs. I don't actually remember what he does with that. And he also sits on Anil Kapoor's shoulder all the time and is like his little pal. So it's like your helpful parrot, but it's a pigeon.
Right. Okay.
That's always great. What's one of yours?
My favorite is definitely Tuffy from Hum Aapke Hain Kaun. It's not a movie I necessarily like or enjoy even, but I do very much enjoy Tuffy. And I think that Tuffy's acting is excellent. I think Tuffy is a thespian
Yes.
of the First Order. He can rival Dilip Kumar for his acting skills. He's phenomenal. He's also extremely smart and talented. He knows that Madhuri and Salman are in love with each other, and he is so important to the plot because not only is he privy to all of the flirting and the cricket matches and all the sighing and the lovelorn lip syncing and all of that, but at the very important climax of the film, it is Stuffy who carries that little note in his mouth and runs up the staircase as fast as his short little stubby legs will allow him. And he goes and makes sure that the message is provided to the person who needs to read it. And that is how Tuffy saves the day. And so the movie should be called Hum Aapke Hain Tuffy. So he's the most important character in that movie because people in that movie don't know how to communicate. They don't.
I loathe that movie, and Tuffy is the only watchable thing about it to me. Like I'm not exaggerating. I've watched it once, and then I tried to rewatch it a while ago, and I was like, no, life is way too short. Like I
but Tuffy
loathe it.
also has
amazing.
A very good wardrobe. So he wears bow ties, he wears a straw hat. He has a very nice wardrobe. Less said about Madhuri's wardrobe in that movie, the better, because whoever is the costume designer of that movie, I think it might be Anna Singh, but I'm not sure. They clearly hated her because they put her in some of the most hideous outfits I've ever seen on a person, and I don't know how they could do her so bad. But they like Tuffy, I think, because they put him in nice things.
So I feel like Tuffy is kind of most people's favorite Bollywood animal, or he certainly, I mean, he comes up all the time, and he is, you know, if you are a person who's never really thought much about animals in the movies, you're still going to remember Tuffy. And like, he's, you know, and he's a very photogenic, cute, fluffy white, is he a Pomeranian or something like that? Pomeranian. You know, so he's a designer dog. He's, you know, clearly a status symbol. As you were talking about him, I was thinking about how I don't know that I've ever seen one of the lovely Indian street dogs in a movie, and I'm sure someone's doing that somewhere. And our friend and film critic Uday Bhatia has a whole thread on Twitter about, I believe he calls it inadvertent dogs who are like running through a shot, and those are often the street dogs, of course, and those are great. So you should if you don't follow him, do, and you can look for his dog thread, but or incidental dogs, I forget what he calls it, but it's very funny.
The indie dog that I remember is from that movie. I think it was Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. Where remember it's was there Rajpal Yadav, who is the alcoholic who's always out on the streets, and he sleeps under the lamppost. And he has a street dog that is his friend. I don't know if the dog belongs to him or not, or they're just like co-inhabitants or whatever. But he often has conversations with him too.
He might be that might be the only one I can think of, actually.
Yeah, that's kind of the only one that's like coming to mind.
I hope listeners will have seen some Indian street dogs who are not just passing by, who are actually part of the story, even if they're not. I have to name here, I cannot talk about this topic without our former blog colleague Todd Statman, who wrote the blog Die Danger, Die Kill, and he actually came up with a whole poll. He called it the Animal Olympics, where animal friends were in a contest. And one of Todd's great legacies to pop culture is the Animal Olympics project, which I will link to, and it's very funny. And you will all laugh when you see what won the Animal Olympics.
I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, but
can you give me a hint?
It's going to be very unexpected. And it really speaks to the votership on Todd's site more than it does to actually this animal's appearance in the film. But you will laugh.
While on the subject of street dogs, I will say that I am a gigantic Madhuri Dixit fan, like in real life. But I love the fact that she is probably the only superstar I know of who actually has a street dog. So her dog Carmelo, who features very much on her and her husband's Instagrams, is a dog they adopted from the Pound in India, like from some animal charity in Mumbai. She's literally the only person I know, because everybody else has these like designer dogs that are adopted, many of which are completely wrong for the Indian climate. Like there is Mahendra Singh Dhoni, who is a cricketer, not a Bollywood person. He has like a whole menagerie of dogs, and it's all these like exotic breeds that you just look at their fur and you're like, are you aware of the fact that you live in a tropical country? Like you should not have these dogs. They're going to have this, like you should not be owning Saint Bernards and things like that. So it's one of the things I love about Madhuri so much is that she kind of, is just so sensible and level-headed. And I love the fact that she has adopted a street dog, and she never even made much of a hoo-ha about it. Although I kind of wish she had, like I wish she had like said something about it. But yeah. Who is another of your favorite Bollywood animals?
So dogs are actually not as high on my list, simply because as a dog person at my very core, like, well, of course, dogs are helpful and great. Like,
Yeah.
they've been, the human and dog relationship is ancient and, unique and special and wonderful. And there's a reason it's like dogs who sniff out cancer and dogs who detect seizures and like,
and bomb sniffing
sorry,
dogs
cat
and all
people,
the
like
things.
your favorite could never.
So I actually had this conversation with my husband because I'm a dog and cat person.
Right.
And I think it was like a month ago or something that I'd seen this post on Instagram about this dog who sniffed out so many bombs or whatever in World War II, and their leg was blown off, but they were alive, thank God. And they got like a medal for valor.
The dogs who get
And
medals.
yeah, and I have so many family members in the Indian military who also had like military dogs and everything. And so I was just like flippantly saying to my husband, I was like, well, all of these like military dogs and like bomb sniffing dogs, like where's the cats? And my husband looks at me and he's like, really?
You met a cat. Like,
he was like, if there was a cat and you told it and you trained it, it would just be like, no. And it would just go back to like bathing itself.
I bet that there are maybe not official military cats, but I suspect there are cats who, cats' major service to humanity is rodent control around grain storage, right? Which is very real. So I suspect, especially in days of yore, there were unofficial cats who did a lot to keep food supply safe, not just for the military, but civilians as well. So that, I don't want to say cats are useless. They definitely are not. Yeah. One of my colleagues says she is a dog person with a cat minor. That's how I feel too. Like, I actually do like cats, but like useful, not really.
There is a cat right behind me right now.
Looking on. And animals do not have to be useful for us to love them. I'm not saying that.
Yes.
My dogs have been very useless. I mean, they bark at squirrels. They could tell me that there was a leaf outside or something, but like, that's not great.
My favorite Schadenfreude story, and also because I'm a very vindictive person, as we all know, is like not just vindictive in real life, but like, I love the revenge dramas. But my favorite story is how, in the Middle Ages, in the Dark Ages in Europe, they burnt all these women at the stake because they called them like witches or whatever, right? And cats were considered witches' familiars. And so they didn't just kill women, they literally heaped up cats and threw them on the stake and burned so many thousands of cats. The way they were punished for their stupidity and their evil and their anti-science mindset was that the bubonic plague soon swept Europe and took out millions of people. And the bubonic plague actually started because the rat population got out of control, and it is a direct cause and effect between the killing of so many cats. You killed all of these cats because you thought they were witches' familiars. And then the rats got out of control, and then the bubonic plague happened. So I was like, there you go. There is the revenge from our feline overlords. So don't kill cats.
My favorite dog in Indian cinema, or dogs that I've seen, because there's multiples, are in a Telugu film called James Bond 777, which if you have not seen, you should.
Okay.
It's from 1977. It is a black and white spy film, as you can guess from the name. It stars Mahesh Babu's dad, superstar Krishna. And I do enjoy the Telugu cowboy films that I've seen, but they're cowboy films, but this one's a spy films, but some same kind of genre films or whatever, if you like to use that term. But there are dogs in this who are like kind of the bad guys' dogs. But they rob a bank.
How do they do that, Beth?
The dogs rob a safe, and they've got like a little remote control thing, and it's amazing. And they can pick up the briefcases of money with their mouths.
Okay.
But what is also great about these dogs is they're trained well enough to like, go pick up the thing and whatever. But there's a scene where they're supposed to be like fierce attack dogs, and they're labs, and they're just sitting there with like and their tails wagging, and you're like, dog's gonna dog. You know what I mean? And I actually really love that because, sometimes, especially in older films, when you see a dog or any animal acting violently or whatever,
Mm.
you really wonder what the person has done to it to get it to do
Yeah.
that. These dogs are fine. These are the producer's
Okay.
dogs, right? Like these are somebody's pets. They were somehow figured out how to get like they rubbed, you know, chicken fat on the handles of the briefcases or whatever it took. But like
Right.
these dogs are so great. And I'll put a link in the show notes to where you can see screen grabs of these dogs. Even if you don't, you should watch the film. It's really good fun. But even if you just want to see the dogs, they are adorable.
Oh.
And very unconvincing at certain key aspects of their thing. But that I just, to see like dogs off to the side with the henchmen, that's fairly common, right? Especially in
Yeah.
something like a spy film.
Yeah.
But to see them fail at being hench doggies, but be roll the safe. Like it's amazing.
I love it.
All right, who's next on your list?
Next on my list is actually a very gigantic mammal, and it would be the hathi from Hathi Mere Sathi. This was one of my favorite movies when I was growing up.
Sure.
It eventually, my father taped over that video cassette, as he would, because I would start crying too much. But I loved this movie so much, and for the longest time, I deplored Tanuja, the actress, because I was too little. And so I just saw her as this horrible villain person who is coming between the bromance between Rajesh Khanna and the Hathi. And so I was like, you are evil and you're this conniving person. And after that, I refused to watch any Tanuja movie for a very long time.
You are not the only person I've heard say that. Like that poor woman, right? Yeah,
like
I've heard other people.
Specifically about Hathi Mere Sathi?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because I was like, why are you doing this? You're better than this. Apparently you're not, so I hate you. But the Hathi in that movie was so darling and adorable, and spawned this whole fantasy I had of how I would eventually get a Hathi. Spoiler alert, I did not. I had to make do with dogs and cats. But I still would love the idea of adopting a Hathi. It would be fun. It's one of the cutest movies I've ever seen. But yeah. What about you?
I've actually never seen that one because I very much love elephants, and I have not trusted that I could watch it without crying and being sad
it's a weepy
for the animal. So like I'm one of those kids who would very much have benefited from the website that exists now about does the dog survive the story kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I still feel scarred by the Velveteen rabbit. That rabbit was not real. That rabbit was a stuffed animal. And I still can't.
But it's sad.
I can't, like Old Yeller and all those things. I can't.
Oh, no, I can't.
I can't do animal stories. I just can't.
My mom is a dog lover too. My grandparents had 4 dogs when I was growing up, like at my mom's parents' house. And a few years ago, my mom was visiting, and it's always a problem when my mom comes, where it's like, what movie can we watch together? Because she doesn't really care for most Hollywood movies, but she also really doesn't like most Bollywood films. And so then it's kind of like, okay, then what can we watch? So the easiest thing is to take her to the library and take her to the audiovisual section and be like, have at it. Pick the movie you want to watch. And being a dog person, she picks out Marley and Me.
Oh,
and
no.
I had steadfastly refused to read the book, to watch the movie. I was like, no, this is bad news. But then my mom comes back from the audiovisual section with one cassette, like one DVD. And I was like, this is the one you want to watch? And she's like, yes, look, there's a yellow Labrador. Its name is Marley. And I was like, okay. So we had no choice. So we watched it. And then things were fine. And towards the last 45 minutes of the film, it was just like pass the Kleenex between the two of us. We were just crying and crying. And then I was like, why did you pick this movie? And my mother was like, I didn't know he was going to die. So she's not allowed to pick movies anymore.
Fair enough.
I pick them.
Yeah. Oh.
Who else is on your list? Do you have any snaky friends?
I actually sort of in passing in the last film I want to talk about. So put a pin in that and I'll come back to it.
Okay.
The next one I want to talk about is, will surprise no one, is from Dharmveer from 1977, because 70s Masala loves an animal pal,
yes.
Any pal. And Sheru the Wonderbird, who is actually called Sheru the Wonderbird in the credits of the film. Like, what? It's amazing. And Sheru, of course, saves baby Dharmendra from being like thrown over the edge of the palace at the beginning and swoops him off and takes him into the forest where he's raised by Prawn.
I thought you were going to say where he's raised by Sheru, the Wonder Bird's mommy, but no, it's Prawn. Okay.
No, it's Prawn. Have you seen Dharamveer?
I have not.
Okay. So it's,
That's the one where Dharmendra and Jitendra are in miniskirts. Yes,
that is
I've
that
seen
one,
many stills
And
and
so
giggled at their muscular thighs.
the setup is that, that Dharam is the real royal baby, but Jeevan is scheming and like tries to swap babies and whatever.
Oh yeah.
And he throws the actual royal baby out over the edge of the castle, and Sheru catches him and takes him to Prawn, who is of course his actual father.
Oh.
So, like it's great because Sheru knows what's what, and Sheru does other useful things as well. But I just, so again, like if you have a hunting falcon, which is what Sheru is, because Prawn is a hunter in the forest, like it's almost conceivable that a falcon, if it happened to notice a baby being thrown from a parapet, could catch it. Now, yes. I feel like the falcon might be more inclined to eat it, but especially if that falcon is trained to catch prey and bring it back to the master, right? Like, so it's exaggerated, but it's not completely made up. And don't get me wrong, I love completely made up when it's creative and stuff like that. But I think this is a very creative interpretation of a certain kind of very niche reality that's like set into something that's obviously completely wackadoodle and whatever, because it's Manmohan Desai in the 70s, and I could not love it more. But like there's something about the way he in particular, he obviously really loves animals and uses them all the time in films, but that's one of the greats in my opinion.
Okay. I also really love all the animals from Khoon Bhari Mang. Of course, yes. We have spoken about this. I love the horse. I love the doggy. I really especially love the doggy because I feel like at a very crucial juncture in the movie where the children really are completely helpless and have no one to help them because mommy is missing getting plastic surgery from Tom Utler, and they have no protector. Their grandfather has croaked off in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and so they have no protector, and they're living with Kabir Bedi, who is clearly a sociopath, and Sonu Walia is not being nice to them either. And so I feel like the only one who is taking care of them and giving them the strength to sort of like soldier on and survive until mom comes back in her, avenging angel avatar is the doggy. And I like to hope that when they're sad and they're crying in bed because they miss their mommy, I hope the doggy is there and he's like taking care of them. And again, I love that scene. Yeah. And I love that scene when Rekha does come back and the dog just goes running up to her and he's like, I love you. And Kabir Bedi is like, well, that's strange. This dog hates everybody. No, he doesn't. He just hates you because you suck. So,
and very what some dogs do, right?
Very believable.
Yeah. Dogs comfort you. Dogs, know who some of the crappy people are sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, so it's, again, just a slight stretch of or not even a stretch, just a really in tune dog.
Yes. Oh, just building off of that. I know this is a Filmi podcast, but I have to shout out to this book that I just finished. Oh, you have to read it too, Beth. It's called Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. And I literally finished it in one day because I could not stop. Like I woke up in the morning and I was brushing my teeth and I was like reading it because I couldn't wait to see what happens. The reason I bring it up is because there is a dog in it and his name is 64. And he's 630 and he's amazing. And no, he does not die. He's fine.
Okay.
So you can read it. It's very safe to read, but he is amazing. Like read the book for the dog. It's not about the dog, but read it. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis.
And I see that, they're adapting it.
Okay.
With Brie Larson.
I don't know how I feel about Brie Larson doing Elizabeth's role. Oh, and that's an Elizabeth.
Huh?
Your people?
My people. Hopefully she's a good one.
She's a great one. You must read this book. It is so good. I think I WhatsApped you about it.
You did. Yeah. Yeah. All right. My next film this is my last one, actually, although I love animals across these films. This was a film that I, again, am one of the lone defenders of on the internet. As far as I know, I'm sure many other people love it also. And it is with complete earnestness that I implore anyone to take another look at this film if they wrote it off because they saw it when they were 12 or whatever. Ajuba.
Oh yes, Ajuba. I do think you are one of the few people I know who loves that movie.
Ajuba, directed by Shashi Kapoor, the one film that he did, it too is a 70s masala film made in the 90s. Like, I can see why this didn't work at the time, right? But it's very throwbacky, including the cast. But this movie has at least 13 species of animals in it, which might be a record for all I know, other than like a movie that has a zoo in it or whatever, right? It's got a sea monster who comes out of the ocean, like with its clampy claws after Amitabh's character. It has a helpful dolphin who basically fosters a baby.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And we know dolphins are mammals, right? So like, okay. Amazing. It has, so here's my snake. I don't remember that this snake actually has a role or anything, but there is a scene like of a dancing lady and she has a snake a la Britney, you know? So, and that made me think like, oh, you see all these amazing snake dances, but you don't actually see a snake in the dance very often. So that was pretty cool. It has magic that turns people into animals. It has a helpful elephant who, you know, like pushes big rocks out of the way, which I think an elephant probably could really do, right?
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, the elephant also helps in childbirth. Someone can fact check me on this. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm pretty sure. I've also seen a movie where a monkey helps in childbirth. Now that obviously monkeys have opposable thumbs.
That
so
I can imagine,
they can do
actually.
anything.
Yeah.
Right. That was a Mithun Chakraborty film whose name I'm blanking on at the moment, but that's a standout moment. And then of course there's Ajuba's horse that has the matching outfit to the superhero. And then there's a tiger who is, you know, supposed to be like a fierce attack tiger, but in the fight with Ajuba, it actually ends with a tiger sitting on its back legs and doing its paws in a namaste.
Oh, that's cute.
It has everything.
I don't would watch a montage
like, it's amazing.
of all of these animals.
The animal clips.
Yeah. I would do that.
I will send you some screen grabs if nothing else, but and there's a little helpful mouse at one point, I believe, and like, or at least a mouse who's running around doing things. And there's just everything. And it's like, you know, Shashi Kapoor, I think, was not in a ton of films with animals. Actually, I'm fairly well versed in his filmography, and there are not very many that come to mind at all. Like occasionally he's on a horse, but that's it. He's not in a lot of the really wackadoodle masala that tends to have a lot of these animals. So it's kind of like, oh, he never got to do that as a leading man, so now he's doing it as a director. I don't know. And like Amitabh Bachchan, who, you know, I like, but who is not my most favorite, is in a lot of movies with animals, right? He's
well, that's also because he did a lot of Manmohan Desai films.
Yes. And he, you know, and he's a guy that you can believe being a shouty warlord on a horse and things like that. So he obviously has done a lot. So I kind of feel like, I like to think that they were talking about the film and Shashi's like, do you want to have one of these and one of these? And how about a sea monster that comes out of the ocean? Like someday I hope there's a book about the making of Ajuba. It's, you know, and it's a Soviet co-production. That's really interesting. So there's Russian actors in it. Continuing the Kapoor family, you know, connection with the Soviet Union, which is really fascinating. There's all sorts of interesting stuff about Ajuba. Dimple Kapadia is there with, again, her absolute shampoo commercial hair. Rishi is in it. It's, you know, Shami is in it.
Oh yeah, it's a very bloated film, if I remember. Very bloated. Yep. But I was recently watching, and I do not recommend this movie, but I recently watched Tu Jhuti Main Makar. Just because I just wanted to see what the fuss was all about. And as expected, it was terrible. But what stood out was Dimple Kapadia. So she plays Ranbir Kapoor's mom in it. And, you know, we all know Dimple is a grandma in real life. And God, the woman is so beautiful. But her hair, Beth, her hair, it's still the force of nature that it was back in the day. Like if you think her best hair days were like in Sagar and Jambaz, no, she still has the amazing hair. Like she's wearing all these like muumuus and maxi type outfits, and she's this very annoyingly loud Punjabi mom. The movie is annoying, don't watch it, but her hair is like, it just like transfixed to me. The woman is just gorgeous.
But like cool older woman in maxi dresses, like that's what I want. That's my my aspirational aesthetic.
All she needs is a martini.
Right.
Yeah. That's
what can I learn? What can I learn? What can I do?
I want to watch a movie where Dimple Kapadia is her fabulous grandma self, and she's wearing muumuus, and she's just drinking, like swigging like martinis, and she's a cougar, and she's on the lookout for a young hot man. But it has to be a comedy. I would watch it.
Like so, you know, they've made these films recently with Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin. Diane Keaton and I believe Mary Steenburgen, who I really like.
Yes, book club.
Come on, Bollywood, let's do that.
I know.
Like there's so many of the great heroines
Zeenat
who are
Aman.
still
I
alive. Yeah,
mean,
Zeenat Aman is
she's
ruling on
fire.
Instagram, being amazing. You know, please write them some movies if they would like to be in them. Like maybe they don't want to, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But good grief, like do you remember how much everybody loved Mushmi Chatterjee and Piku in that little role she had?
Yes.
Like, I feel like there is an audience for this, especially with streaming, right? Like, especially with this diversified, nicheified sort of world that we're living in now, or like make a short series. I have to say, I couldn't get into Masaba, and I wished I could have, but
I haven't tried it.
I bet you haven't, because it's got fashion in it. I thought you would.
I don't like Masaba Gupta. I find her very grating and annoying. So I didn't want to watch it because I felt like I can't even stand her Instagram presence. She's gonna annoy me. So I didn't watch it.
Like we could write a Vera wedding with the mom age people in it, right? And like give them, and I don't mean to define them by being a mom. I just mean, generationally, let's give all these 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old amazing women something to do. And that there would also be room for a lot of the men that age too, that we don't really see anymore. They're in just sort of sideline avuncular roles or whatever. So,
I even want the 75 plus crowd. Like I want to see Vahida in something. She's like 83 years old. Absolutely. But like every time she comes to promote something, like I don't even know why she comes on these shows, because she's not actually acting in anything. So it's not like she's promoting something. But every time she does like an interview, she's so cute and charming and smart. She's like razor sharp, and she will like make points. And if the interviewer just like misinterprets something she says, she'll like, no, that's not what I meant. I meant so and so. And I'm like, you go, girl. But she's like stunning and fantastic. And yeah, we need more of these. But yes, sorry, I digress. But Dimple Kapadia's hair still has me in like thrall. I was bedazzled by it and bamboozled by it.
It is a force of nature.
It is a force of nature. How do you feel about all the snaky friends that we see in the litany of Ichadhari Nag and Nagin movies?
I love them all. And I don't somehow think of those when I think of animal films, and I don't know why. It's almost because they're...
But they are like the most animal-y animal films.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are amazing. If you'd told me 20 years ago, you're going to get into Indian cinema and you're going to really like snake movies, I would have been like, oh. But I love the snake movies, and A grade, B grade, C grade, D grade, Z grade. Give me it. I'll watch any snake movie. Yeah. I'll watch crappy dubs of Southern films that are dubbed into Hindi, because I mildly understand that better than I do any of the other Indian languages. Like I love snake movies. I think they're so creative. I love watching how when you get the person who is the snake and how that's reflected in their costuming and their movement,
their lenses,
hair, and their jewelry, and their blue eyes or whatever, green. I love dances that are inspired by snakes, like the dance offs with like Rekha or Sri Devi. Like those are just those are masterpieces to me.
My favorite snake inspired dance is from Guide. The little number that Wahida Rahman does when she goes to the village with all the sapere, and she keeps doing that movement, and it's so beautifully done. And there's no words, it's just the music, and she's frustrated and angry. And I was just like, oh, this is the best. But I think snake movies are so great, like all the Nagins and the Naginas and all of those, is because it's always women, and they're always taking revenge on someone or some people who have wronged them. And I think that that's just like so cathartic for us, right? Because that's like, yeah, there you go and show that man his place and put him in his place. And like, now you're like terrifying him and terrorizing him. And that gives me joy. But it's also like the insinuations of like snakes being like very like sexy and like sinuous and graceful and mysterious and all of these things. And so all of these actresses, whether it's Reena Roy or Sri Devi or whoever, and they like bring that energy to it. Like when we were little, my cousin and I loved that song of Sri Devi and Amrish Puri's "Main Teri Dushman Dushman Tu Mera, Main Nagin Tu Sapera." It was so great. Fantastic. We would take turns being Sri Devi. So one of us would be Amrish Puri, and we would sit cross-legged, and we would keep doing this, and the other one would be Sri Devi, and we would like run circles around him, going like that all the time. It was so great.
That's wonderful.
And then we'd like, okay, my turn, because we don't want it to be Amrish Puri. you wanted to be Sri Devi, but like you had to be Amrish Puri and pay your
Yeah, you
dues to
gotta take
be allowed
turns.
to be Sri Devi. You got to take
Mhm.
turns, but it was so much fun. And we would have like littler cousins, like really tiny, like
Oh,
baby cousins, and they'd be like, "We want to be part of." They'd be like crawling into like our little like circle where we would be doing our snake dances. It's just so great.
love it.
Which is your favorite snake movie? Because there's so many.
Off the top of my head, it's probably Noggin.
Okay.
Um, I
So
do really
you
love.
mean the Rina Roy one?
I do. I do love that one a lot, partly because the cast, you might argue it's bloated, but it's got a little something for everyone. It's really, and the revenge and the sequence of it and the way that Noggin becomes different people at different times. And like,
Yeah.
it's so fun. And it kind of has everything I love about snake films times several. Right.
Yeah.
And I also like that sometimes when you have that cast of thousands, it just feels bloated and weird. And it's as though everyone's waiting their turn to have their scene. It doesn't feel like that to me in this one, even though it is fairly sequential and you don't see most of the people together, crossing over a whole lot. It's fairly episodic, but
Yeah.
I just feel like it works. I feel like it's just so much fun. And it's peak 70s fashion as well. Like Rena Roy's outfits are spectacular. Mumtaz's outfits are great. Reika's outfits are great.
Yeah.
The men look amazing. Like Kabir Betty's in there with, like the bell bottoms and everything. And just super, super great. Love everything about it.
I think my favorite snake movie is the one with Sri Devi and Rishi Kapoor, Nagina.
Yeah.
But I think I'm partial to it because it's the first one I saw.
Sure.
So because it was the first one I saw, it kind of cemented it. I also liked how like creepy it was. Not that the other movies, I mean, creepiness is an integral part to a snake movie, right? Like it has to be a little bit spooky and eerie, and there's like the supernatural aspect, and there has to be like a good tantric in there,
Oh, yeah.
and there has to be like the lore and the stories and the myths and everything. Like that's what makes it fun. That's why people watch Indiana Jones even today. That's the whole point.
And honestly, you're making me realize one of the great things about snake films is they're never about the hero. They're
No,
about
never.
the heroine and the villain, who are usually way more enjoyable to watch anyway. Like I would much rather watch those two people than Jitendra.
Oh yeah. No, they're actually, I feel like this is not necessarily a well-formed thought, but it is something I had thought before where they're almost like proto-feminist, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the woman is the most important one in the Nagin, because she's always the Ichadhari Nagin, and she's always the one who is taking revenge for some reason or the other, either because her mate has been killed, that's the most common reason, or because her whole family was destroyed. There's often an environmental angle to it, usually having to do with deforestation,
or someone has stolen her diamond.
Yes, or someone has stolen, which is
for some reason
property theft to be fabulous.
Yep.
She has to be fabulous. So her diamond has been stolen. Yep. So she always has a reason, and I love that she's unapologetic about it and she goes for it. And the fact that she is this mystical half beast, half human, in a way gives her that agency. Because if you did a movie where it was a perfectly normal human being, like say you're a perfectly normal human person called Beth, and if someone stole your diamond and you tried to go after them and take it out, you would just be jailed. Like that would not be acceptable, and that's just not okay. But because she's a mythical animal, it's kind of okay for her to go after all these people.
And she's like, boop, I'm a human again. Boop, I'm a snake. You can't catch me, I'm a snake.
So I actually love it. Like it's just such a fun way for women to just kind of like do what they want to do and not have to deal with too many consequences, which usually you see men doing. So I think that's why these like snake movies are so popular among women. I don't know too many men who like it, notable exception being my father. So when my dad and my uncle were growing up, my grandfather had a lot of money, so he would give them money every Friday to go watch a movie. So my dad my dad and my uncle grew up watching a movie every single Friday, every single theater. After school, they would go. And my dad told me this story about, so he was the younger one, and his brother, my uncle, was like 8 years older. So he always called the shots, and he decided what movie they were going to see. And my dad was just along for the ride. And the first time that they saw a movie that scared my dad shitless, I think that was Noggin that they saw. Because I went to the movie theater. My dad had no idea he was a small child. And the snake came, and he was so terrified. He sat cross-legged in his seat feet, he didn't want his feet to dangle because he thought there would be a snake. And he just like was terrified but transfixed at the same time. So when I was growing up and I started getting into these like snaky movies, and I started watching like Tum Mere Ho and all of these films, he would be like, oh, I still remember the first time I saw a snake movie. I was terrified and I begged my brother to let me go home, and he wouldn't. And we had to see it. And he apparently saw the whole movie like this because he was so scared.
I wish there were more of them today. I don't feel like not a ton. You can find them on YouTube and stuff. And before people say, have you seen Malika Sherawat's film? Yes, I have. No. I have seen his.
You have?
I have. And I've also seen, I haven't seen this woman around in a little while, but I mostly don't watch Telugu films, but Mumaith Khan, who is an amazing item dancer, among other things, right? She is absolutely the right person for a modern snake film. And she has at least one that I have seen. So there's, they still make them here and there, but.
So there's actually a very long running TV show in India produced by Ekta Kapoor. I think it's called Nagin, and it had, or at least it used to have Mauni Roy in it. I don't know if it still does. I feel like they changed the cast, but that show was like super popular. It ran for many, many seasons. And for some reason, I would keep seeing it in my Instagram Explore page because someone that I follow is a big fan of that show, I guess. So I would keep seeing like clips and everything. And honestly, it looks kind of fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't have the time to sit through several seasons of an Ekta Kapoor show because those shows are so bloated. Yeah. But clearly it's a very popular one and people very much enjoy it. Is there any animal that you recently saw Bhedia?
I did.
Which I loved. How did you feel about the animals in it? Because there were two wolves.
I loved it. I loved the wolves. I mean, are they entirely digital or mostly?
I believe they're digital.
Entirely. I thought they did a really nice job at animating behavior that seemed dog-like to me. I don't know anything about actual wolves, so I can't speak to that, but if they were trying to evoke canineness, I thought they did a really nice job.
Yeah.
I loved all the sort of nods to like the dog in the dog shape in the fire and the dog shape of the cliff at the end, which that was a surprise to me somehow. And I was really like quite taken by that. I really liked Bhedia. I thought it was pretty great. And just
I enjoyed that scene where, so I don't want to give away any spoilers, but there is the one wolf that is in the cage, and then there's the other wolf that tries to get him out of the cage. And that was like, I thought that whole sequence was also very sweet. I actually read, I'm not a fan of Game of Thrones, but I do like the dire wolves in it. And I actually read that when they are shooting, when you're supposed to portray wolves in any kind of like TV show, or at least in Hollywood movies, what they do is they actually hire huskies or malamutes. So they hire dogs, and they pretend that they're wolves. But the only thing is that they usually wag their tail too much because they're excited to be on set. So the tails always have to be like digitally done. So if you pay really close attention, anytime you see wolves in Hollywood movies or in TV shows, the whole body is that of a dog, but then the tail is actually digitally altered because wolves don't
that's so funny.
They don't wag their tail. I just think that's cute. Like you have these like gigantic like malamutes walking around set, but they're just so happy to be there.
Love it. Love it.
Have you seen, this is my turn to reference a movie that most people universally hate, and for good reason. And I wonder if you've seen it. Have you seen BB number 1?
Yes, but it's been a while and I found it forgettable, as I recall.
It's the David Dhawan movie that has Sushmita Sen, Salman Khan, and Karishma Kapoor. Banger soundtrack. It has Chunari Chunari in it. And it has a scene I really love. Again, I know this is idiotic. I know this would not happen in real life, but it is possible that it could happen. So Karishma and Salman are married and they have a kid and they have a dog and they live in a joint family. And Sushmita Sen is the person that Salman Khan is having an affair with. And Salman is seriously considering leaving Karishma and leaving his family and going and, being with Sushmita Sen. And Karishma has started having her doubts about it. And there's a scene where Sushmita Sen wants to, this is so hokey, but like there's a scene where Sushmita Sen wants to do like the Karwa Chauth, whatever ceremony with Salman Khan. So she's all like dressed up and she has like the thali and the sieve and everything. And Salman is all like smug and you just want to like slap his his happy smile off his face because you're a cheater. And Sushmita Sen is all like decked up. And meanwhile, Karishma Kapoor is also getting ready to do her Karwa Chauth thing, right? Like, because she's his actual wife. And the Labrador comes out of nowhere, and he is so offended by the fact that Sushmita is doing this that he jumps up and he like makes the sieve and the thali fall. And then of course Salman is so mad at him and he's like, what are you doing? And then the dog is just like, and then Karishma Kapoor of course is proud of the dog. So it's like, I love that scene. It's like, it just gives me such like joy. The dog's like, no, absolutely not. I will not let this happen. And he just goes, ah, and then he drops everything.
I love it.
Is there any animal that you want to see portrayed on in an Indian film anytime soon?
I mean, I want to see a street dog.
Here's my own animal.
Hey, kitty. Hello. Hey. So pretty. Yeah, I want the street dogs.
Yes.
But because representation matters and they are great.
Yes.
I feel like there's a lot more room for cats than we tend to see, but also maybe I have just not noticed or not seen the right films. But any and all animals are welcome in my opinion. They make everything a little bit more interesting and creative. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. I think one of the most unusual animals that, like, not unusual, but it's rare to see this, is the friendship between Hema Malini and Dhanno in Sholay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's like a little bit more unusual. I mean, yeah, there's like, all these things, but that's unusual. So I would also like to see more farm animals. There's actually a Marathi movie called Varu, which refers to a bullock. So it's like a young bullock that the family has decided that they're gonna like sell or whatever. And the little boy is really worried because he's like, why are they selling him? Like, is he gonna be killed for his like meat or something? And so Varu is literally the name of the bullock, and the whole film is about this little boy trying to like save his bullock. I have not seen it because I do not know how it ends. If the movie ends on a sad note with Varu actually being eaten, then I don't wanna watch it. But if it's just like a happy, heartwarming movie, then I'll give it a shot.
When was this movie made?
I don't know.
I don't see the Indian censor board almost ever having a film where a cow gets eaten. Do you?
Well, not eaten, but like, what if he comes to a bad end? Like, what if he dies?
Okay.
I don't want him to die.
That also seems somewhat unlikely, but
okay.
Now, I mean, nowadays obviously would not happen, but
no. But I don't want him to die. So as long as there's a happy end, I will consider watching this movie. So many people have recommended this movie to me because supposedly it's very good and it won some awards. But I just need someone to tell me that it has a happy ending.
This is one of the great things, as we discussed about Brahmastra, is the like animal.
Yes. All the astras.
That was really imaginatively done, I would say. It was a lot of fun. So
I love the fact that Shah Rukh was the monkey, because that is like so Shah Rukh energy, right? Like, what else could he be? And then I love that Nagarjun, who I felt was the weakest link in that movie. I was not bowled over by his acting, but I like that he was the Nandi Astra, because he kind of looks like his shoulders and everything. It's kind of fed. Yeah. So that was enjoyable. I am looking forward to I think there's another movie coming out, right, of Brahmastra at some point.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see. I feel like birds are also underrepresented.
I was just going to say, and I feel like you see peacocks in movies in the background, and you see peacock-inspired costuming, of course, but I do not feel like I've seen. Yeah, they are like evoked, but I don't feel I've seen one that does anything.
Yeah.
And maybe they are too unruly or something, but I don't think I've ever seen one that was sort of a character or something.
I read a news article a while ago about how Delta Airlines was starting to crack down on the emotional support animals, because someone at SFO airport, I think, tried to board the plane with their peacock. It was their emotional support.
No,
I saw the photo. It was like they had like the trolley, like the luggage cart at SFO, and there is this like peacock like perched on it with like his beautiful, and he was the peacock was their emotional support animal, and Delta Airlines was like, no, that is not an emotional support animal.
No, something that
but
can
you're
like
right,
fly around the plane. you can't have a flying creature loose in a plane. Come now.
Well, you can have snakes on a plane, like that movie Snakes on a Plane, so why not? Go ahead.
I was just thinking about, well, we haven't said this, but obviously more films with crocodiles.
We need more films with crocodiles.
Yes, please, whether it's from the House of Roshan or not.
House of Roshan.
They are clearly the croc enthusiasts, but I feel like those are great. And that was one of the best things about Mohenjo-daro was the crocodiles.
Yes.
Crocodiles are great. And obviously with computer animation, it seems like it's even easier to put an animal in a film than it ever was. So why not? But as you were saying about snake movies sometimes having an environmental message to them, yeah, like we got to be, this is very important. So
because Bedia had a very strong message on those lines that I really appreciated. By the way, Bedia is out on streaming. If you guys want to go check it out, we did an episode on it. It's really awesome, and Beth just saw it and she liked it too. My favorite movie that I would recommend, it's a bunch of movies I would recommend if people love animals, is actually the Harry Potter franchise. I love the books. I'm a huge fan. My cats are named for Harry Potter. That one right there is magic. My other cat is Professor Minerva McGonagall. But it is the best series of movies that you can see if you like animals, because there's all kinds. There's cats. There's Hedwig the owl, who is so pretty and adorable. There's fake animals like hippogriffs and centaurs, and there's like all sorts of amazing things. There's a gigantic bloodthirsty dog that guards the gates to like whatever terrible place, and that one is called Tuffy. It's so amazing. That is like the best bang for your buck, I would say, for animals in movies. I know it's not Indian cinema, but still.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of many non-Indian films that are strong in animals, but I'm sure there's a billion helpful dogs in Hollywood, I'm sure.
Turner and Hooch is a good one.
Yes, Turner and Hooch is a good one.
Like, of course, you want a mastiff to be with a cop. Like, that makes so much sense to me.
Yeah. I've never actually seen any of the Beethoven movies about the St. Bernard, but I don't know why I haven't. I think I was a little too old for them when they came out. Maybe I thought they were childish or something, but yeah, I mean, as long as I can find out the animal is okay in the end of the film, I will watch it. And can we just talk about dogs and commercials just for a second? Because, whenever there's the commercial that shows the little kid getting a puppy and the dog, and then the baby, like the human, grow up together, and then the human goes away to college and the dog is sad, and then the human comes back from college and the dog is happy, I will cry. And that's my experience, right? Like, that's my experience of having dogs, and the connection that is maintained even though you're far away. Or if I ever want to cry, which is rare because I'm not you, I will go to YouTube and I will watch videos of people coming home after being away for a long time, like a soldier, and being reunited with their dogs, and their dogs just absolutely lose it. And it's so cute. Oh my God. So cute. You will love them. You will cry. And then YouTube will keep giving you more.
The last time I cried buckets was actually, I saw a video in Ukraine of this dog that their building had been bombed or something. And so the dog got out. It was fine. It's a happy ending. But the dog got out, and this poor man was like distraught, and he was looking for his dog everywhere. And finally he found the dog, and they were reunited. And it was like some journalist or whatever that took the video. And so you see this man, and he's lost everything. His building was bombed. He's basically homeless at this point, and he doesn't know how he's going to get back on his feet. And he's like this, and the dog sees him, and the dog just like lopes towards him, like running. And in the background you can see all of the rubble, like just how Ukraine has been devastated. And this dog just comes running up to him, and like there's this big bear hug. I mean, like, even the journalist was crying. I was like, oh my God.
You gotta.
Yeah.
I think we need to stop talking before I start crying.
I know. Okay. Well, this has been such a fun episode, you guys. Tell us about all of the animals that you love in movies. It doesn't have to be Indian movies. If there's animals you love in American movies or any other movies, that's fine. Tell us about them. If you just want to share anything about your own animals, we welcome that too, because we're crazy dog people, cat people. So we will happily listen to your stories. If you have like a pet tarantula, tell us. We've never had spiders as pets, but go for it if that's what you enjoy. So thank you for watching this episode of Filmy Ladies, and we will be back next week with another fun episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.